All right, we are here in the Valley of the Beast, sitting down and talking to Doctor Rasheed Ivey. Uh, really good friend. So close. You know, I adopted him. This is my other son. I don't know. I call him Doc so much. You know, I almost forgot his real name when we was doing this interview. But I'm gonna call him Doc through the interview. But his name is Dr. Rasheed Ivey from Compton. So we have that in common. He trains here at the mighty IAG. Been here for a while and part of the family. But today, we're going to discuss the hard subject, the things that people don't want to talk about, and vaccine hesitancy. And I can't think of a more hesitant motherfucker than myself. I am 62 years old, and I'm about as hesitant as they come. For me, the Tuskegee Experiment is not ancient history. And I think, you know, it went on for 40 years, from 1932 to 1972. And people, they talk, well, I just don't, you know, we have a lot of people that are pro-vaccine that I just don't understand why people are so hesitant. I can't, well, I'm gonna tell you, for me, that's a hell of a reason for my hesitancy was Tuskegee. It's not ancient history for me. I was born in '59, so '72, I was plenty old enough to understand what they were doing, why they did it, and this was from the CDC, correct, Doc?
Absolutely.
I mean, this is the agency that they are putting out front so much today is the one that we should listen to and that we should believe in and have faith in and have trust in, the CDC. And this is the CDC that fully understood, conducted this, along with the HSU, I believe. They did this. So when you talk to older black folks or black Americans and they tell you that they're hesitant, they have a goddamn good reason to be hesitant. I was hesitant big time, and it's not, you know, no made up. I mean, check your facts. It's nothing made up. This really happened. The government fucked over these men, had the cure for, what, 30 years of the experiment, and did not, penicillin.
That's it.
They had the cure for 30 and did not give it to them. And then you say, you know, we want you to trust us. So I was hesitant as fuck, but I'm gonna shut up and let the doc take over.
Appreciate you, Pops. You know, I think at the end of the day, Pops said what a great number of, you know, patients and people that I talk to in the community about this vaccine and their hesitancy to get the vaccine. I think, you know, before we really get going, everything that will be said is of my opinion. It's not reflective of my, you know, the hospital I work at. These are things that I've, you know, perceived to be things that we should be speaking about, especially given the questions that I'm getting in the community from, you know, African Americans, our Latino neighbors. At the same time, people are very hesitant, and rightfully so, as Pops just spoke about. I think one of the things that we have to make clear, I have to make clear to people as a physician is, you know, I'm not necessarily pushing one way or another when people ask me questions, and I think it's a natural human instinct to want to be told, hey, well, should I get it or shouldn't I? Obviously, I'm vaccinated, but that was with hesitancy as well. I did do my research on my own, and more than that, all my questions weren't answered. But I felt, you know, as somebody that is in the community and working with people that I care to see do well from a health standpoint, as a leader, leadership equals sacrifice. So for me, it was a no-brainer to go out and get it, given the people that I come in contact with. Now, with that being said, the thing that I've been most driven to do when I have this conversation is get people to understand we have to read for ourselves. a lot of us, have this trepidation, given, the very nefarious history with medicine and people of color, and it's rightfully so. 72 was not that long ago. I think, the world as a whole would like for people to forget that, and get people to think that that was such a long time ago. It wasn't. And we, as medical professionals, we as people that care about our community, those of us that call ourselves leaders or are thrust into that position, we need to understand that that's well-placed hesitancy. And we need to be very clear with folks that we are not mulling over that fact. At the same time, we need to be very clear with folks just on the basics. What is COVID? What is a vaccine? What is a vaccine designed to do? And more than that, and I think most importantly, we have to dispel some of these myths that are flying around. The long-term effects, that's definitely something that's not, we couldn't possibly just by proxy of time elapse answer those questions. That's one that I get probably less than I get, the more misinformation style questions. Like, somebody told me, a friend of mine got it and they can't look left now, And for me as a clinician, somebody that's, put a lot of work and investment and time into learning about the human body and physiology and vaccines, though that may be true, it's hard for me to let that person walk away believing that the vaccine necessarily caused that. There are possibilities. There are no constants. Concrete data to say it can't or it can. But more than that, I don't want people walking away with this very far left idea of what they're hearing and thinking that that's the truth. So what I've been making a definite stand on is having people read for themselves and making myself available to answer questions from a science standpoint.
Read for your goddamn self.
Yeah.
That's the number one. Because a lot of people don't. They listen to either this news station or that news station, and they take what this news station or that news station says as gospel. Well, that must be the truth because they said it over here. Or that must be the truth because they said it over here, and then we wind up having we go to war. We got the vaccine hesitance against the pro-vaccine people, and they button heads, and constantly it just turns into a war. And I think what me and Doc, I'll tell you my vaccine story, but what me and Doc are trying to do today is to clear up some of the absolute bullshit about the vaccine. And I want you to tell them your qualifications, because I know some of you pinhead motherfuckers is gonna ask that question. Well, what kind of doctor is he? Because you got all kind of doctors on TV talking about, I'm a doctor, and some of them, they like Dr. Seuss and shit. They got their certificate through a mail order program, and they call themselves a doctor. Well, none of that bullshit here. Tell me your qualifications now.
Okay, so I have a master's degree in biology. I have a medical degree from UCLA, and I'm a practicing anesthesiologist at Harvard UCLA.
So Doc is the real deal. He ain't one of them motherfuckers you've seen on whatever channel you look at, call himself a doctor, and they got that shit in a box of Fruit Loops.
And for y'all that's gonna look it up, I'm in residency, but I got a master's degree and an MD. So fuck you.
So that's what Doc has been on the front lines. He's seen a lot. He used to come into the gym and talk about some of the emergency rooms and some of the time he spent in the emergency room and treating gunshot victims, and it was, well, we ain't got time for that shit. Anyway, we here to talk about COVID, but Doc is the real deal. I am in the group of immunocompromised, very immunocompromised, because I had a heart transplant, as you guys might know. Had a heart transplant, so that puts me in the immunocompromised group. So it was very strongly recommended by my heart doctors that I get the vaccine. And I've put up a big fight Doc. I'm like, no, fuck that, Tuskegee. They're like, no, well, why am I Tuskegee, motherfucker? I ain't. I'm 62. Tuskegee was not that long ago for me, and the same motherfuckers that you recommended, CDC, same motherfuckers back then, they did that shit. So take that vaccine, shove it way up in your ass. You know, fuck that, I ain't doing it, Doc Nick. So he called me several times, my doctor, and practically begged me. Now, Mr. Fletcher, look, with your immune system the way it is, if you get COVID, you probably won't make it through. I mean, it's gonna be really rough for you. And my wife, you know, talking to me now, oh, okay, I get it. Got the first shot, that went fine. I didn't get no side effects whatsoever from that. Took the second shot, fucked me up. Now, I ain't trying to dissuade you from getting the shit, but the shit fucked me up. I mean, I was having convulsions, throwing up, a fever, and you know, it was so bad, doctor, and you know, I try to, just like most men, when they get sick, they don't want to, I hate hospitals. I've been in so many hospitals, I hate to drive by a hospital. I don't want nothing to do with no hospital if I could possibly help. So when it first started happening, I was like, hell no, I ain't going to the hospital. My wife was like, we got to take you, you got to go in. Nope, I ain't going. I spent too much time in a hospital bed. I am not going to the fucking hospital. 3 days of that shit, baby, let's go. I was going to take you to the emergency. I got to go. I can't keep this shit up. So it put me in there. They gave me fluids and stuff and antibiotics. Got my shit back together, but it was rough, Doc.
Yeah.
It was rough.
Yeah.
And then my doctor told me that it was probably my own system. He said that was kind of good because the stronger reaction that you get usually means that it's working or something. I'm like, shit, is that true, Doc?
It's very true, very true. So like when let's just use the flu vaccine, one of the things that, and you probably heard it, most of the people watching it probably heard it, when somebody gets the flu vaccine, they say they got sick from the flu vaccine. Well, that sick feeling, that, or the word sick, they're basically talking about the symptoms, right? So they got home, they might have had some chills, coughing, sneezing, they may have had some body aches, right? But it only lasted for a short time usually. But what that is the immune system recognizing the vaccine and mounting a response. So your immune system can kill you just like the virus can, right? So that is what people feel. The thing is this, it's usually very short in duration, right? It's usually the day of or the day after, and then they're fine, right? But that is a good thing. That lets somebody know that you are having a response to the vaccine, which means all your immune system is doing is saying, okay, I recognize this. Let me begin to process an immune response just in case I see it again. So it's almost like, I was telling somebody the other day, it's tantamount to you being robbed, right? The dude who walked in had on all, black. And he was carrying a chrome pistol. Well, the first time that he got you, you didn't necessarily recognize he was coming, but you got ready the next time. So the next time, all kind of bells and whistles went off when he walked in. That's what your immune response is having when it sees that virus, say, in the community again. So now we don't have to wait to respond. We have an immune response of white blood cells that'll go in and they'll take care of it.
Man, that was a very good exercise. So my immune system said, hey, you snuck up on me once, motherfucker, but now I'm ready for your ass this time. That's a very good explanation, Doc, that I could understand. He broke it down for me. That's better than my doctor did. But anyway, but my doctor told me at the time that I got the shot that he was hesitant to get the vaccine, and most of his colleagues were hesitant. And I'm like, motherfucker, you hesitant, you the doctor, you hesitant to take this shit, and most of the other doctors that you know are hesitant to take this shit, but you want me to take the shit. I'm like, man, what kind of bullshit is this, Doc? Come on, man, you gotta make a little, he said, just because of how compromised my immune system was, he really highly suggested. So they called me up last week, said, hey, Mr. Fletcher, you are eligible for the booster shot. You need to come in and get the booster shot. I said, fuck that booster. And The nurse who called me up, she was laughing and shit.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you don't want it, Mrs. Spector? I said, hell no. I barely made it through the last fucking shot.
Yeah.
Fuck the booster.
Yeah,
So, but and I heard your dad
Yeah.
was pretty hesitant too.
My dad was very hesitant. He's old school.
How old is he?
My dad is 68.
See?
And he kind of falls on that list of people that would be somewhat more adversely affected. He used to smoke cigarettes. Now he's very active, which is, while we're here, got to mention, this gym and being active is huge in people's recovery, number one, and people's ability to bounce back a lot faster.
Fight it off.
So he's active and that works in his stead. He does eat right and all that, but he was hesitant. And, honestly, and we talked about this before, I was hesitant for him.
Yeah.
Given what I had seen. But again, going back to the information that I was able to absorb, working in the hospital and seeing, just the emotional side or the emotional toll that it's taken on people's families. I could not, in true form and my honor being intact, allow my father to not be informed. And, he did his own research. Obviously, we talked about it. I also talked to my brother about it. And I did not push them or sway them in a way that go get it. And that's really not been my goal. Because I think if people are able to absorb the information, most folks are more likely to go and do what they feel is best for them.
And we got to take a little pause here because I don't want to gloss over this shit. I have friends in the media, prominent media personalities that I call friends. And I told them that I think they are making a tremendous mistake by, offering bonuses or pluses or whatever you want to fucking call it to people who get the vaccine. Look, they had a lottery and you win the lottery, the vaccine lottery. I'm like, this is so much bullshit because we're paying people to get the vaccine. I said, look, if you're hesitant already, and then you got somebody saying, well, if you don't want to do it, here, I give you $200 to do it with that. They're going to pay you to get this vaccine for African American person in my age category. When I see shit like that, somebody trying to convince me through a bonus or a plus or dangling a fucking carrot, because that's what I consider. Let me dangle this carrot and lead this motherfucker into a trap. This is how I'm gonna get you in. I'm gonna dangle this carrot in front of your nose and you're gonna walk right, because you see this $200, you're gonna follow this fucking $200 right up into this fucking trap. To me, it's all kind of, whoa, motherfucker. I'm putting on brakes like a motherfucker. When you're trying to make the shit appeal, to be, what do they call it? It's better, what do they call that shit when something like gold, or what do they say? It's an old fucking saying. It's
everything
too good
that
to be true.
Oh yeah, and everything that glitter ain't gold.
Yes, thank you. Everything glitter is too fucking good to be true.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with that shit. Everything glitter ain't gold. Something wrong with that shit. That's just making me go, hell no.
Yeah.
Take that motherfucker and shove it up your ass. I don't want nothing to do with it. And then I'm a preacher's kid. So there's that side, and then I'm double hesitant because my dad, a day is gonna come, all while I'm young, a day is gonna come when you're gonna have to if you don't have this specific, he didn't say a vaccine back then, it was just the number. If you don't get a number, you're gonna need this number to buy and sell. You're gonna need this number to do business. You're gonna need this number to fly. All this stuff, and he was saying this shit in the 60s.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at, and I know it's a lot of church kids out there right now who heard the same shit I heard. Yeah. Pop's stuff talking about, you're going to need this number, and this day's going to come, and I'm like, damn, this is kind of similar to what Pops was saying. It ain't a number, but it's a vaccine. And you need this vaccine, and now you got to show your card in a lot of places. If you want to travel, you got to show your card. A lot of things they're making, if you work for the government, unless you work in the White House. But if you work for the government, you got to get the vaccine. In the White House, you got a choice. But if you work for the government in other places, which I think is bullshit, by the way, if fucking you make another government agency, everybody in the fucking White House should have to get that shit too. But if you work for the post office, which I did for 28 years, if I was still there, I wouldn't have a choice. I'd have to get that fucking shit. And I think but it's kind of similar, and I want you to talk about this, it's kind of similar to what Pops was talking about. You need this, and that's also going to make a certain group of people,
very hesitant,
church folks,
very hesitant,
very hesitant to get this vaccine.
I think, I mean, we talked about this a little bit off record a few days back. I think one of the things is whoever is thinking up these, I won't call them schemes. I don't want to be disrespectful, but these methods of attraction to bring people in, money, and that just lets me know more so what we spoke about earlier. People are not acknowledging the mistrust that exists. That's a bigger issue in medicine. That's a bigger issue in a bigger conversation. But it bodes well to speak on that part, because what it's showing us is that COVID is highlighting that still in medicine, we're not acknowledging why a whole subset of our population does not trust the medical field, not wanting to get the vaccine, and deciding to not get it for the most nefarious of reasons. And somebody's not in that room at the time that these things are taking place and saying, hey, I know it sounds good, but if we're really, really trying to go after the subsets of populations that we're not getting, that haven't got the vaccine, we have to call them by name, right? That is African Americans, that is Latinos, right? They're not getting it. Why?
Yep.
And no one wants to really have that conversation, because the conversation of race has always been one that people want to shy away from, especially in medicine.
Yep.
In other areas too, but as in medicine, as a physician, I can speak to that. People don't want to really have that conversation. If the patient is my center and it's what I do, I have to acknowledge, before I ask them to take a blood pressure medication, before I ask them to take their diabetes medication, I have to acknowledge where their mindset is. And if the mindset is one of mistrust, I cannot dangle a carrot in front of somebody to get them to get this vaccine. You are definitely going to push that person away. Yep. They've already decided they weren't. Then you tell me, well, I'll give you $200 to do it. Now I'm really, really skeptical. So it's well placed. And this is what I've been talking to people about. Because they'll come to me and they're like, am I thinking wrong? And I want to let people know, that I've talked to, I never tell them they're thinking wrong, because I don't know where they're coming from. In that moment, I ask them, why do you think you're thinking wrong? Then you learn a little bit about somebody, and you understand the injustices that they faced from the medical field. Then at that point, I have a way to speak to this person objectively. And I say that word very clearly, objectively, about the decision that they are going to make. Now, when that happens, most people are like, well, I didn't know this. I didn't know that. And now this makes sense. I don't feel like I'm being fattened up like cattle, right? And that's what this conversation has to be about. Not, I'm going to keep you out if you don't do it. I'm going to dangle this money in your face if you do it. It just sounds really weird at that point.
Yep.
And somebody who's went through it, and I can only speak as a younger person about the injustices and racial inequalities and inequities that I've seen from my standpoint. But the lenses of a 60-year-old person, those are rich lenses. And I think as a medical field, we really need to take time to tap into this. Ask these people what their experiences have been. Stop trying to force people, number one, or play the short game of just throw them a little money.
Yeah.
Because you're disrespecting them like that.
Absolutely.
You're disrespecting people. Yep. And if really what we want to do is get information out here and dispel misinformation, and honestly, quite honestly, save lives.
Yes.
Because we've all lost somebody to this. I can speak to that. Pops can speak to that. Yeah. We've lost somebody to this virus. And for me, I've seen it in the hospital. I've seen it in my own close family and friends. So I know the virus is real. What I don't want people to think is that there's no way to help themselves. Let's stop forcing people to do what they have no idea about. I can't force you to do anything that you don't know about.
Yep.
Right? So I definitely understand that, and from the standpoint of recognizing where people's baseline is and meet them there. Like, my job as a physician is not to get you to meet me where I'm at. My job is to meet you where you're at. That's what all this education and time and refinement and growth, that's what that was for me personally, to be able to come back and meet people where they are. And if somebody walks out of my presence and says, Doc, I appreciate you, love you, I'm just still not gonna get it, I still love them the same.
Yeah.
I still am gonna talk to them. But at least they walk away feeling informed, and they've made an informed decision. Be an informed dissenter, or be an informed person that approves of what you're doing,
But
right?
be informed.
But be informed,
Yeah.
you know, don't, and again, I think Pops raised an absolute great point. You know, the media has its place, and I won't say anything on the negative end about it. What I will say is this: you can't get information to make a decision from your media outlets. I would caution against that. I would never say don't get news about world issues and things like you. That's your personal opinion and your personal goals and however you see the world. But when it comes to your health, you wouldn't take your car to get fixed by a dentist, okay? So get your medical information and your scientific information from scientists and people in the medical field, i.e. doctors. So don't get it from your friend next door who has their own issues. You have to go for yourself and use those around you, because we're dying from misinformation, not from people just being weak-minded. It's literally from misinformation. And I think that's more so important to me, that people understand that. And whatever you choose is what you choose. Myself, Pops, other people we know have made their decisions and drawn their lines in the sand. But I can respect somebody who says no, just like I can respect somebody who says yes.
And so can I. I definitely understand. The pro-vaccine people are looking at the naysayers of the vaccine as a lot of time they try to make them seem ignorant and lacking of understanding or unintelligent, and that's not always the case. There are people that are hesitant for very good reasons, and the media would like to just gloss over their reasonings. They just want us to pretend like Tuskegee never happened and that it wasn't real, and they don't even want to bring it up. Oh, well, that's like fucking ancient history, but it's not fucking ancient history. I mean, 1972 is not that goddamn long ago, and I remember it very well. And there's a whole lot of other people just like me who remember it very well. It's not ancient history for us, and you can't just look at us and say, forget about that. That was in the past. Nah, fuck that. I'm sorry, it does not work like that. It might have been in your past, but not for me. That shit is still pretty fresh. It's still pretty fresh. I still remember it very well, and it still holds a lot of weight on the decision makers. It's not just something to be brushed aside and say, oh, that was back then, and them 40 years don't count, and expect us to be just super forgiving and oh, okay, you guys made a little tiny 40-year fucking mistake, and I forgive you. It don't work like that. It's not that easy, and it is insulting to ask us to just brush that aside and accept what the fuck you're saying now as the gospel truth. That's insulting. It just won't happen. And when you offer a fucking carrot, $200 or a lottery or whatever the fuck you're offering, that's even more insulting. You're adding to the insult. You're already insulting me, now you're just adding insult to it. So,
and then meet people where they're at.
Yeah.
Those of us that chose to go this route and take care of people and took that oath, it didn't say don't talk to the people who don't agree with you. It didn't say don't educate those who don't have education on this. It literally was an oath to take care of people. And that's far-reaching, meaning you meet people where they're at. The only way medicine is going to get past any of the injustices, you have to meet people where they're at. You have to acknowledge that the hesitancy is real. You know, I think about if you know, my mother was still here, she passed away, but if she was still here, the hesitancy she would have. I think about my grandmother, because these people were informed, okay? But they would still be very hesitant.
Absolutely.
Given all these things that are now popping up as these, they're really, to me, they're really some weird ideas. And,
Yeah.
and it's haphazard, and it gives the field a bad name. Because most of us are not in this to hurt people. And most of us are doing what I'm doing now. But that couple bad apples that are able to exist, it's literally, if you look at the far-reaching effects, people are gonna die as a result of it. So we have to do what we need to do as physicians. This isn't a field where you get to loft yourself above people, in my opinion. It's a field of service. So you go and you make sure that people understand. Again, and we said it a ton of times in this interview, in this talk, I should say, I'm not here to sway you. What I want to be is a listening ear and acknowledge why you're hesitant. Acknowledge the things that you don't know, and let you know this is a safe space to say, I don't know what that is, Doc. Can you explain it?
Absolutely. I'm not here to push you either way. You know, I got the vaccine, and you heard my hesitancy, and it's big time hesitancy, and I think it's well-placed hesitancy, but I got it. So I'm not trying to persuade you either way, but what Doc is saying, what I am saying, is get informed. Informed is the best best advice we can give you, to get informed for yourself. Don't just take it from whatever news station that you listen to on a daily basis and take that as gospel. Don't just go, oh, I'm on this side, I'm on that side. Do a little studying. One thing is for goddamn sure, the vaccine is real. Neither side can, I'm sorry, I fucked up, not the vaccine. The
virus.
Yes, the virus. Thanks, Doc. The virus is real. It's not some made up shit. The virus is definitely real. It has hit very close to home for me and Doc also. It's a real thing. So get your ass informed. That's the main thing I want you to take away from what we're saying. Find out for yourself. Do a little reading. I know that's gonna be fucking a lot to ask for a lot of you motherfuckers, but do a little reading. It's real hard. Let me get your grandkids or somebody that can read. If you can't or don't want to, get somebody to read it for you, and you know, find out for yourself what's really going on. And pay attention to somebody with a medical degree, and not somebody got their shit out of a box of Fruit Loops, and a real doctor like Doctor Rasheed here, and you know for yourself, Doctor Rasheed Ivey. You can look him up on Instagram. Pay attention to the Compton Doc. Yeah. Well, thank you motherfuckers for watching CT Fletcher Motivation on YouTube. Like, subscribe, don't subscribe. I don't give a fuck either way. But what you do need to do is take your punk ass over to ctfletcher.com and buy something. Cause I fucking said so.